Hello everybody, welcome to the Ultimate Scouting YouTube channel. We are back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at the week 2 lineup and picking every single game. Let's go ahead, let's hop right into it. Please like, subscribe, comment, that all helps me out so much, so I would appreciate it. Let's get into it. The first game we have is the Thursday night football matchup going on tonight between the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers. This is probably the game of the week. Really looking forward to this game. Got Patrick Mahomes versus Justin Herbert. This is going to be an awesome matchup. I have the Chiefs winning 35-28 versus the Chargers. So if you're looking at the betting line that is -3.5 for the Chiefs, I do go with the Chiefs even with the points there. This is a tough matchup for the Chargers. Keenan Allen is out. J.C. Jackson might not be able to go. This Kansas City offense looked really good against the Cardinals. Patrick Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns. They're going to have to figure out a way. You know, the Chiefs are at home. It's in Arrowhead. You're going in there on the road, and you got to play a really good Chiefs team that looks like they're hitting on all cylinders already. So this is going to be a tough game. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chargers win, but I do have the Chiefs winning this game. I do think it's going to be a good game. It's probably going to be relatively high scoring. It's going to be close, probably one possession game, but I do have the Chiefs winning out there. Next up, we have the Giants versus the Panthers. The Giants are 2.5-point favorites at home. Usually there's that 3-point swing for the home team, so this is about a dead even game. I have the Panthers winning this game 20-17. I think the Panthers had some ups and downs. They started off really poor. The play calling was just terrible. They figured it out kind of towards the ends. They mounted a little bit of a comeback versus the Browns. I think they've got to utilize Christian McCaffrey more. They relied too much on Baker just in his revenge game. You've got to, rely on the run game, rely on your best players in McCaffrey, DJ Moore, those kinds of things. I think they're more talented than the Giants are. This will be a close game. Brian Daboll has his guys playing hard for him. Saquon Barkley could have another really good game. But I think this will be a relatively low-scoring affair. I don't believe in either offense too much. And I think it's probably going to be a lot of run game. Barkley and McCaffrey, I think, are going to have very big roles in this game. So this could be a coin flip. I am going with the Panthers and the points on this one, 20-17. The next game we have is the Saints versus the Buccaneers. The Saints are at home. They are 2.5-point underdogs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have the Saints winning this game, 27-23. And if you didn't know, the Saints are 4-0 in the regular season versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Tom Brady is playing. That's pretty crazy. They have had success against him. They did lose the playoff game to him, but they have really been able to figure things out. Dennis Allen has done a fantastic job coaching this defense up. And, they had a little bit of problems with Marcus Mariota last week and some of the mobility with him. I don't think the Buccaneers looked particularly impressive either against the Cowboys last week on Sunday Night Football. I actually think that the Saints win this game. The Saints, were able to squeak out the win versus the Falcons. It wasn't a pretty win, but I think, at home, hosting the Buccaneers, who they've been really successful against, I think that they're going to pull off this upset a little bit. So, looking forward to this game. I think it'll be a fun one. I am picking the Saints here, though. Next up, we have the Steelers versus the Patriots. The Steelers are 1.5-point underdogs. I think this game is going to be a battle of the defenses. Don't think either offense for either of these teams looked good at all last week. The Steelers put up 23 points in 5 quarters of play with getting 5 extra possessions from all the turnovers their defense created. You're also missing TJ Watt now. He's not going to be out for the season, but he will miss this week and the next couple weeks as well. So the defense is going to have a really big role in this game for both teams. Mac Jones should be good to go. He had back spasms in the game last week. They only mustered 7 points against the Dolphins, which they have a good defense, but 7 points in the NFL is unacceptable. It's just as simple as that. Matt Patricia does not seem to know what he's doing calling offensive plays. I don't really like the game plan that they're rolling with. I am picking the Steelers here 17-14. This is probably going to be a close game. This is probably going to be a defensive slugfest, but I do pick the Steelers in this matchup. Next up, we have the Jaguars versus the Colts. The Jaguars are 4.5-point underdogs at home versus the Colts. I have the Colts winning this game 27-21. Last week, Trevor Lawrence had some ups and downs. He had some really great throws. He had some really big misses. The Colts went down big early to the Houston Texans and were able to claw their way back. Michael Pittman had a really good game. Jonathan Taylor had a really good game. I expect those to be the case again. And I don't really necessarily trust the Jacksonville defense to hold off a really physical, fantastic Colts offense. Now, the Jaguars have kind of been the Achilles heel of the Colts the past couple of years. They've beat them a couple of times. And I could see that happening again in Jacksonville. Early in the season, the Colts are still trying to figure everything out with a new quarterback. But I do think that the Colts have this one, and I do have them winning with the point spread as well. Next up, we have the Ravens versus the Dolphins. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites in this game. I have them winning 28-17. Last year, the Dolphins beat this Ravens team, and it kind of spiraled on the collapse of the Ravens towards the end of the season and the resurgence of the Dolphins. So this is a really interesting matchup. I think that the Ravens are going to win this time around. Lamar Jackson had a really good first game. His running game and his receivers played well in their roles, so I think that they have some good pieces to build around. Now, you don't get to play the New York Jets with Joe Flacco, so that is going to be an adjustment, but they handily beat the Jets. The Dolphins, I just still don't believe in Tua. They beat a team that, I don't think is going to be very good anymore. In the Patriots, I've lost a lot of the belief I had in them, and, I have them going below 500 anyway, so the Patriots are not a great team. The Dolphins did beat them, and that's always a great sign. A win is always good, but I am picking the Ravens pretty handedly in this one. I'm not sure I believe in the Dolphins. I don't believe in Tua against a healthy Ravens defense. Lamar Jackson is going to have a good game, I think, so the Ravens in this one is where I'm going. Next up, we have the Browns versus the Jets. I once again think this is going to be a defensive slugfest. The Browns really weren't able to get a whole lot going with Jacoby Brissett last week against the Panthers. I don't really expect him to have a huge role again. I think they're going to run the ball, trust the offensive line. Chubb and Hunt are great players. You can kind of run with them, and against a Jets defense that is still very much growing with a lot of the young talent that they have, I think you can have success with that. Now, I don't know that they're going to put up a ton of points either. And the Jets certainly aren't going to put up a lot of points with Joe Flacco. They're probably the worst team in the NFL with Joe Flacco at the helm. It's really bad. I do actually have the Jets covering the spread here by 0.5 point. I don't feel confident in this at all. I could see a world where the Browns, dominate them. I could see a world where the Jets somehow win this game. So I have the Jets covering just barely 19-13. This is probably going to be an ugly game. I have no interest in watching it at all, really. And we'll probably see a lot of defense, a lot of inability to move the ball, and a lot of run game. So if that is your interest in football, this is the game for you. Next up, we have the Lions versus the Commanders. The Lions are 2.5-point home favorites, so about a wash there. I have the Lions winning this game 27-23. I think that this could certainly go either way. The Commanders are a little bit underrated, I think. And I really like the Lions, but some of the national media is hyping them up to be better than they are. I think that they're a good up-and-coming team. I think the Commanders are a very mediocre team. So this would honestly be a little bit of an upset in my mind, but I do pick the Lions here at home. I think Dan Campbell's got them playing super hard for them. DeAndre Swift had a fantastic game. They were able to get the run game going really well behind that offensive line. I think that they could have some success doing that. The Commanders do have a fantastic defensive line. So I think that, you've got to force Wentz into some mistakes on the defensive side. Your defense has got to play well. You gave up 38 points if you're the Lions. You gave up 38 points to the Eagles. Got to be better than that, obviously. Got to force Wentz into some turnovers, and I think that they are able to do so and win in a narrow game. The Rams versus the Falcons. This is a 10.5-point spread. This is a huge spread. And I actually do have the Rams covering it by 0.5 point. This is going to be a close one, I think, as well as far as the spread. I don't know that the game will be close, but 10.5 is a lot of points, and the Falcons played pretty well last week. Arthur Smith, I think, is a really underrated coach, and I don't think the Falcons would be nearly as good without him. The Rams had a really, really rough start to their season. They got pretty much beaten to the ground by the Bills. Now it's the Bills, and you're now playing the Falcons, who I had ranked number 32 in my power rankings video. If you haven't seen that one, go ahead and check it out. The Falcons are not a good team. If you can contain Marcus Mariota's rushing ability and then stop Cordarrelle Patterson, make Mariota beat you with his arm, that's going to be a recipe for success. And I think the Rams, Sean McVay, are going to be able to bounce back in a big way and get the win. Next up, we have the 49ers versus the Seahawks. The Niners are 8.5-point favorites. The 49ers kind of got embarrassed a little bit by the Bears. It was pouring down rain. It was Trey Lance's first real, NFL start, but it was not good. And, you lose to a team that most people expect to be towards the very bottom of the league standings this year. You're going to have to rebound in a big way. And I think that they do win versus the Seahawks, but the Seahawks, they played really well against the Broncos. Geno Smith had a career day, and I'm not all in on the Seahawks by any means. I do think they may have a good chance of covering here, even if it's just, I have a 7-point projected victory here. It's 27-20 for the 49ers. I think that, the 49ers are going to get their offense going a little bit. Nick Bosa and the defensive line are going to get some pressure on those young tackles. I do foresee the 49ers winning this game, though it could be a little bit closer. That one's kind of a toss-up as far as if they cover or not, but I do think the 49ers definitely win this game. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Bengals are 7.5-point road favorites. The Cowboys are huge underdogs here, and there is a big reason for that. No Dak Prescott for this game. You've got Cooper Rush starting, and the Cowboys have a lot of issues as far as injuries go. Javon Curse, their really good safety, is out. Connor McGovern, one of their interior offensive linemen, is out. So you've got a lot of issues here. The Bengals coming off a really embarrassing Week 1 game versus the Steelers. Joe Burrow typically plays really well after a bad performance. He had a really bad performance last week, probably the worst of his professional career. I expect him and Jamar Chase to have big days. T. Higgins should be back as well. I think that the Bengals roll here 31-17. I do foresee them against Cooper Rush having a big victory here. Next up, we have the Broncos versus the Texans. The Broncos are 9.5-point home favorites here versus the Texans. I have the Broncos winning this game 24-20. I don't think that they're going to cover the spread. I think it's a little bit too large for my liking. The Texans played the Colts really well, and I think Davis Mills is really underrated. Lovie Smith is going to have his guys play hard for him. They've got a good culture there in Houston, and sure, I could see a world where the Broncos score 41 points and, the Texans can't keep up. But I think that this Texans defense, they're hungry. They kept the Colts, who are really physical, good offense with a lot of weapons, to 20 points over 5 quarters of play. And I foresee them playing hard once again. I don't think they have enough to beat the Broncos, but I think it's going to be a closer game than Vegas predicts. I think that the Texans cover the spread here, 24-20. Next up, we have the Raiders versus the Cardinals. The Raiders are 5.5-point favorites. Seems like a little bit of a big spread to me. I do foresee them winning this game, 27-24. So I do have the Cardinals covering. The Cardinals got blown out by a really, really good Chiefs team. And, that's obviously not at all a good start to your season. You want to come out looking good. To have, a pretty talented team in Arizona, at least offensively, versus another relatively similarly talented team in Las Vegas, a 5.5-point spread just seems a little bit large for me. Kyler Murray is going to make his plays. So is Devontae Adams and Derek Carr and Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow. They've got so many good weapons, but I think both these defenses aren't very good. I could see it being higher scoring than this, but 27-24, I do have the Cardinals covering, but the Raiders winning this game. The Packers versus the Bears here on Sunday Night Football. The Packers are 9.5-point favorites versus the Bears. Packers kind of got embarrassed a little bit by the Vikings. Vikings came in with a really good game plan. Kevin O'Connell seems like he is a really good offensive coach that they have been looking for. But for the Packers, they came out flat, and they typically do that Week 1. But it's not a good start to the season, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time for Rodgers to build some chemistry with his new wide receivers. And, this defense didn't look very good either. They have a lot of talent on that defense, but the play calling, the schemes, the coaching just weren't up to par. I'm very curious to see if that remains the case. The Bears, on the other hand, won an absolute slugfest versus the 49ers in the pouring rain. I think it was a little bit of a, circumstance of weather, Trey Lance's first start, but Justin Fields made some really good plays throughout that game. Go back and watch, and when he was asked to, break contain, make plays out of structure, he was really, really good. So I am excited to watch this game. I'm not really sure what will happen. I could see a world where the Bears come in and upset Green Bay at Lambeau. I could also see a world where Green Bay smashes them by 30 points. So I am going with a 9-point victory, 23-14 for the Packers. So that is the Bears covering the spread, technically. I do think that the Packers will win this game, but I do think it's going to be right on that borderline between if the Bears cover or not. This is not a game I'd be betting on myself because I think it's going to be close, whether they cover or not. But I do have the Packers winning straight up here, 23-14. The first of the Monday Night Football matchups, we have the Buffalo Bills versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, 9.5 points is a very large line, especially for two teams that made the AFC playoff divisional round last year. The Titans were the #1 seed in the AFC. But I actually see the Bills covering this line. I have the score at 34-23. The Titans really just couldn't get a whole lot going at all offensively. A.J. Brown no longer there for Ryan Tannehill. The wide receivers just weren't getting it done. Derrick Henry finally got popped by Tay Crowder the way he's been just abusing people for years. I've been on this train for a little bit. I'm not sure I believe in the Titans this year. I do very strongly believe in the Bills. So I have the Bills covering that really large spread, 34-23 on Monday Night Football. This is probably one of the most exciting games of the week now, the Eagles versus the Vikings. This is one I definitely want to tune in for. Besides, the Thursday night game tonight between the Chiefs and the Chargers, this is probably the most exciting game of the week for me. The Eagles coming off scoring 38 points versus the Lions. They gave up a lot of points as well, but that offense was really humming. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell, all of them were really, really cooking really effectively on offense. Now, you're going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson had like 150 yards in the first half. Kirk Cousins looked great. Kevin O'Connell looks like he is a really good offensive mind. And this is going to be such a fun game. Both teams have good pieces on defense. For the Eagles, your corners, James Bradbury, Darius Slay, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson are really, really good. You've got some fun interior guys as well. Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis on that interior of the defensive line. For the Vikings, you've got some great players. Danielle Hunter, Eric Kendricks, Lewis Cine, and Harrison Smith at safety. This is going to be such a fun game. I had a really tough time picking this game. The Eagles are 1.5 point favorites, but it's basically just a push line at that point because the Eagles are at home. I do have the Eagles winning this game 28-24. I think this is going to be a one possession game. I think it's going to be fun. I think it'll probably be relatively high scoring. Something I am really looking forward to watching this week is this game. So that is going to be a great matchup there. That'll do it for our week 2 predictions. Let me know what you think I got wrong. Some of these games are really tough to predict. We got some really fun ones this week, but let me know what you think I got wrong. If you agree with any of my picks here, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff helps me out so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.